Hey you, how you been? It's been a few weeks. You been chilling out, relaxing? Maybe some family time, or even some hardcore gaming? There has been so many wonderful games drop in 2020. When were we ever gonna find the time? Well, I guess we could start now. 2021 Season 3 of Push2Plat. What do we have to look forward to? Well, if you're a first-time listener, if you're a new journeyman or journeywoman on this wonderful trophy achievement extravaganza, then we have much to look forward to in a year that promises so many great new wonderful games. It promises us amazing experiences on these new masterful next-gen consoles that we know of, and even that are yet perhaps still to be announced. This is a year we will traverse the globe while you sit in the comfort of your own home and listen. We will meet content creators, developers, gamers, musicians, maybe even you. The sky is the limit as we embark on our true passion, a passion for gaming. But let's not forget what drives us on, what unites us, those trophies and achievements. That's right, this year we will embrace our roots, our origins, if you like. Spam of the week will be returning. I'll also throw in my gems of the week, because while we want to hear about what all these wonderful people are playing, you still need a little of what the Talking Muppet is dabbling in as well. 2021 sees a new release date. We'll hit you every Friday. It sees our community growing stronger. If you've been sitting on the fence for a while, it's time to jump in. We have a wonderful community event, a challenge, a personal challenge against yourself and no other. It is the Now or Never event. 10 games, any system, running from today through to November 30th. And you can be part of that by jumping into the Discord or sending in your gaming list via the email. But look, that is enough of me. I think it's time we start Season 3. And I couldn't think of a better way to start it than with these two wonderful gamers and friends. We're starting off on the right note, at least today. Two good friends of the podcast. We have Resident Darrell, the host of the Loot Bros Comic Cast, 2236, many other podcasts I've probably forgotten, a returning guest, a wonderful trove of all things PlayStation, and of course, another returning guest today, Levi. He is the man that is legit. If you play for 8 hours, or 7 hours, or 6, or look, if the game is like over 2 hours, you can submit it. It is a legit game, I'm told. This is a legit game. He brings PC love as well as much console knowledge. How are you both today?
What's up?
I'm doing wonderful. It's been a while since I've recorded with you. It was supposed to be like November and then December, but you won't get your act together and finish the Half-Life series. So we can't discuss Half-Life until you play the damn things.
Well, that could be a 2021 goal, perhaps, Levi, for me. I don't know. We'll definitely get there. So I thought what we do today, listeners, is I want to talk some games. And, of course, we want to throw out maybe some goals and some anticipation as well, because I'm sure, like many of us, this is the time of the year that you find a lot of time to game. And finishing 2020, it felt like there wasn't a lot to play, and then just immersing in stuff this month in particular, I've just realized just how much there is and how much good stuff there is to come. But on that note, why don't we start, Darrell? Why don't we start with you? What have you sort of been playing in the last few weeks? What have you been enjoying?
All right, so I have been kind of prepping up for the Backlog Beatdown Call Your Shot event we're doing. I have been playing some Resident Evil 5 on the Nintendo Switch. I've been playing a little bit of Call of Duty World War II. And just other than that, just kind of been chilling out with the family. I haven't really dove in anything. I did pick up the new Call of Duty Cold War on the PS5. I'm really excited to dig into that one because it has the adaptive triggers, and supposedly they try to emulate different trigger pulls for every different gun in the game. So I am super excited about that. But other than that, man, it's still early in the year, and I went looking for some rat spam, recently just to kind of like, just kind of feed my addiction. But I gotta say, I picked up two more games too. I picked up Hunt the Showdown, which I haven't tried it yet, but I've got it installed. I'm very excited about that. And then I picked up one other one on the sale. There's such a good sale going on right now. Like it's
Mm.
hard not to just buy everything in sight.
Yes, that's true. I'm assuming all these were bought before the 15th as well.
Absolutely. Everything was purchased on the up and up, completely legit, not cheating at my own contest whatsoever.
Excellent. Well, let's put a pin in that because we are going to come back to that. Levi, what have you been playing over the last couple of weeks?
Well, I started on a job for a gentleman about 5 weeks ago. We're doing a basement conversion, finishing out his basement and converting it to a gym and a lounge. And he's just a great guy, really friendly. And he comes down and he talks to me a lot. Turns out he's a gamer, but none of the games we really have in common. Plays a lot of strategy games, which I've enjoyed. I just haven't played them much. And he says, "Hey, why don't you sign on to Steam and buy Age of Empires 2?" And I did, and I'm hooked. And I mean, I'm playing this game more than anything right now. I mean, it's about all I play. I'm going through the campaigns like Art of War, and learning how to build your society, and I guess they call it a build order, and how to rush the opponents and all this other stuff. And I love it. I was a big chess player back when I was a kid and a teenager. Chess was my thing. So any of these strategy tactic games, I can kind of uh, get hooked, I guess you'd say. But I'm finishing Control. What I did is I couldn't decide for 2020 Game of the Year. So I went and I played all of the big ones again. Alan Wake, Control, Quantum Break, those three, Wasteland 3, Half Life Alyx, Alien Isolation. So I've went and I've played them all, and I still can't decide. So it's basically 5 games for a tie for my 2020 Game of the Year. But also started Silent Hill 3, and I'm playing that a little on the weekends.
That's a
Uh,
good
that,
one.
that that game's a challenge. Most of the survival horror games, the puzzle elements and all that, and navigating, I've never had an issue. This one I am. I don't know what it is about Silent Hill 3, but I'm having trouble progressing. I've had to pull up a YouTube walkthrough on 2 different occasions now. One was like it was a vice, and the vice was to be used for a nutcracker. Now, why they would use a wood vice for to crack the nut, I mean, that just didn't register to me. So I ran around for like an hour and a half trying to figure out, which door did I miss, what did I miss, and it was actually the walnut that was inside my inventory had to be cracked at the vice to then get through the moon door. So I would have never
Yes.
done that. Just that would not have registered using a vice. And strangely enough, right after that part, you pick up a nutcracker. But the nutcracker, which you would think would be for cracking walnuts, you know what I'm
Yep.
talking about, Darrell? The
Oh yeah.
nutcracker is actually used to crack the nut on the door, which this door is locked with a bolt and nut assembly. So the nutcracker cracks the nut on the door, and the vice cracks the walnut. So little stuff like that, things just didn't register for me, has given me some trouble with Silent Hill 3. But I'm progressing now faster, as I think it's clicking now, and I always love those games. But I've recently picked up Hades. I'm actually going to be starting, because the games, Silent Hill 3 and Control, I'll be finished with them in the next couple of days. So I'll be starting Hades. A lot of people have raved about Hades, and I left it up to the fans. And I put the post out. I said, because the next 3 games I'll be playing is Hades, Fallout New Vegas, and Disco Elysium, and also Prey. I put those out on a poll, and I said, vote, you guys pick. And it was a landslide. Everybody wanted me to play Hades, so I'll be diving into that one probably Sunday. And normally I don't do the whole, I think you call it what, a beat 'em up, button masher style stuff. But this is a beat 'em up that isn't a button masher, to my understanding. It is actually an RPG, and it
Mm.
has really great role playing elements, really great story. So I'm excited to play Hades, and also, of course, Disco Elysium. That's one that I missed last year. Really excited to play it. I sat down, I started Disco Elysium. I got a couple hours in. I was like, this is going to be a masterpiece. This is really going to be something special. But I'm not of the mindset to tackle a game like this right now. So I'm going to
Yeah.
put it off until I have that mindset. So I'm of that mindset now. I've played RPGs back to back for the past 3 or 4 months, and I'm ready to tackle this masterpiece.
Yeah, that's nice. There's a few things that I want to pick up on there, but I had to laugh when you mentioned Age of Empires because in my infinite wisdom, Levi, I thought, after a couple of glasses of wine, it would be the right time to start a Paradox game. And so, of course, thanks to our wonderful friends on the Xbox Game Pass, I downloaded the Crusader Kings 3. And yeah, it's a very similar game to Age of Empires, I believe. And the tutorials and the wave of text that hits you it's intense, sir. And look, I'm used to a VN, and I still found it intense. So there is a steep learning curve on those games, but once you get into them, I'm told they're fantastic. Now, I wanted to pick you both up on here because you're running two events. They're sort of concurrent events. They're sort of helping each other out, I suppose. They're not dissimilar, but you made a wonderful point, Levi. The gamers love to be told what to play, and you've put your list up here because you couldn't decide or whatever else. So I wanted to ask you both that it's a good turnout or whatever else, and people are they're putting lists together, which it's super exciting or whatever else. And I see massive scores already coming in today. But how are you gonna keep this momentum going? Because gamers, they hit hard and they hit fast, but then they also disappear very quickly, and their goals seem to drift away. So what's your sort of, and perhaps for yourselves as well, what is the incentive? What is going to push you both through? We'll start, Darrel, with you if you like.
So the beauty of these community events that we've been running is that the constant conversation and all of the excitement, it really does kind of keep you engaged. And I'll give an example for me. Like, I really enjoy getting, like platinums and trophies and things like that. And normally my personal rule is if it doesn't have trophies or achievements, I don't want to play it because it very much feels like there's so many games. I can focus on the ones that actually add to my, my personal leaderboard, my personal score, my trophies, my achievements. And I really do enjoy genuinely getting them. Not just the easy ones, but like, play this game a certain way, play this game a little different, do this thing, find this secret thing. I enjoy that, and then being rewarded with a little digital bling is very cool. But the backlog beatdown last year, and then this one, the Call Your Shot event this year, has really just kind of changed my mindset, like my motivation, where last year it was like, just beat games, like we're doing this thing. It's adding to a score, there's a meta game going, and then everyone's kind of encouraging each other and, a little bit of trash talk here and there. And it's just like this whole thing. So like for me last year, I played Xbox games. I played Switch games. I played PSP games. I played Vita games. I played PlayStation games. I mean, I was all over the place. And it was really cool because of that, I felt like it helped me keep my momentum and my excitement for all games all year long. And I imagine this year is going to be the exact same. This year, we've got more people on both events, the Call Your Shot event and then the Be Legit side quest too. Like we've got like so much going on. So it's really cool. I've set some personal goals. I obviously want to do better this year than I did last year. Last year, out of all the years I've been podcasting, last year, 2020, was the absolute worst year of gaming for me personally. I beat the least amount of games. I got the least amount of platinums or 100% that I've gotten over the past few years. It was a overall busy year for me, a lot of life changes, but my discipline in finishing games was really bad. And it's not like I needed help with my bad reputation on finishing games anyways. So like 2020 really made it worse, which I'm cool with. But this year, I think that these events will both sides, the Be Legit and the, call your shot, the backlog beatdown, call your shot. I think that I think that's gonna be the motivation I need to get fired up and to stay fired up till the end of the year.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And to be fair, you're also very busy with work. So I mean, there's many
Yeah, yeah.
reasons why that was the case. Obviously. Now, Levi, I want to ask you a similar question. You're in a slightly different position because unlike Darrel, you're not afflicted with the curse of FOMO where you need to commit to playing every game or at least buying them and looking at them or whatever. You do select particular games, but Levi, you're not at fault either. And look, I'm not either because at the start of this week, I knew you were coming on and I was like, for fuck's sake, CJ, you've got to play Hades because Levi's going to be playing it or he's going to start it and you've had it for months, you haven't started it. It got to this morning and I was like, well, bugger it, I haven't started it or whatever else. But I noticed that a similar thing is happening to you and you're committing to it, as you said, but Disco Elysium as well. So, as I said, you don't feel the need to play all these new games all this time. What's going to motivate you, do you think, to actually stick with this and finish and start these games that you've been putting off for a year or so?
Well, it's you hit lulls. Everybody hits lulls, and you can see it in the Be Legit. Everybody, you had a big rush in January, February, then you hit a lull around March, April, May. Then around the 4th of July, it boomed again. Then hit a bit of a lull, especially as it went into hunting season. A lot of us also hunt. And then a big rush hit in November, December. But for me, it's just listening to these podcasts and staying engaged. And games will be mentioned that I forgot, like that I really wanted to play, meant to play, and forgot. Like just in the past few weeks, I'll give you three as an example. Pillars of Eternity. I just forgot about it. I meant to play that 2, 3 months ago. It just slipped past me. Deus Ex. I'd been planning to play Deus Ex for 2 or 3 years, and that's sort of like a cyberpunk type of a game. Some say it's better than cyberpunk. And Fable, three games that I was adamant that I was going to play and finish last year. Just forgot about them. So being in these groups and hearing these games mentioned, and especially when somebody, a podcast does a deep dive on a particular game. It was like, for example, 2236 did a deep dive on, I think it was Dead Space last year, and
Represent.
that just had me so excited. I was so excited to get. I left work early that day. I listened to 2236, Darrel, and I don't remember who did the episode with him, but actually, I was calling on Darrel that day. It was a day that Darrel and I went to lunch, and I dropped them off after lunch. Went and seen one other customer, and I said, I'm heading home. I can't get my mind off of it. Can't focus on work. I'm gonna go play this game if it's this great. I played Dead Space, and I had finished the game by the following night. So,
Man,
um,
that's a good sitting right there.
yeah, for me, the deep dives, that's why I love doing them. Like you and me, CJ, will do deep dive on Half Life. Me and Daryl's going to do a deep dive on some Remedy games.
That's right.
That really gets me going. Um, and I'm not a stickler for spoilers either. If it's got some light spoilers, I don't care. That's not the end of the world to me. I want to
Mm.
hear people's opinions on these games. So yours too. I really value your opinion, CJ. And just hearing everyone share their experience throughout the year, and whether it's uh, Joe and Frosty talking about how it's trash, or you got people like me that think everything's the greatest thing that ever was. I want to hear all of those opinions. And generally, if it's the greatest thing that ever was, I go play it. You make a suggestion to me, I'm one of those guys. I will go play it. I don't brush that off. I don't take that lightly. If someone takes the time to suggest a game for me, I'm going to respect them enough to at least try it. And
Mm.
for example, Kalai, she suggested probably 20 games for me last year. I played and beat 19 of those 20. I bet you there was only one that I can remember I didn't finish. So yeah, just being engaged. Sorry to take 3 minutes to answer that question. Just being engaged keeps me driven and keeps me finishing these games.
Yeah, I really like that. I know I was probing you both there, but it's the answer that I wanted. So well done, I suppose. But the reason I did it, and I made the labored on the point of trophy hunters in particular, is that in the last few months, there's been a massive shift in a lot of the hardcore gamers, and I even seeing some of the participants in these two events, and they were some pretty hardcore PlayStation gamers. And it's wonderful, Darrell, that you talked about playing all different systems, because I see now they're expanding, and they've been wanting to play these games and these systems for ages. And I think giving them an avenue to do that is wonderful. And I also now directly talk to you in the fourth wall breaking here, listeners, because I know many of you will sit here and you'll be intimidated by some of these gamers, and rightly so, and also intimidated by the fact that you feel the pressure of finishing a game after you say you do. And obviously I don't I don't subscribe to that, but these are events that you can join and you can do, and whether you finish or not, it doesn't matter. It's more about the journey, and as Levi said too, it's about discovering games, because already today I see some people have posted things that I have heard about but I never thought about, and I was like, well, if they finished it, perhaps it's worth looking into. So there's a lot to be had there, and even if you don't feel comfortable enough to join in an event like this, you can always just do it yourself, almost like play along at home, I suppose. But if you are interested in those events, I will put a link to the Loot Bros Discord in the show, and they all can be found on their Facebook as well. I think it's a free to join group or whatever else. But let's move on from that then. We sort of touched on Darrell's goals for the year, but Levi, I'm interested in yours. What's your sort of gaming goals, I suppose, for this year?
Well, do you want to hear like the individual games, as in the games I'm planning to play, or what
Yeah, sure.
exactly asking?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have your little contest of 10 games, so I'll run through those. As that's 10 of my main goals. Is
Hmm.
this month we've got the medium coming out.
Man,
That just
that Jones looks good.
it just screams Silent Hill. Um, I'm really excited about the medium. So we've got what, less than 2 weeks now. I think it comes out on the 28th. But
Yes.
the medium, Hades, which we've discussed, Resident Evil Village, they're going to pick up with
Oh
Ethan and
yes.
Mia's story. So same character, same story. It's going to be the same engine. And for me, I was telling Darrell, last year and a half ago, that I want Resident Evil 8 to be exactly like 7, the same engine, the same everything. And when they announced about 6 or 8 months ago that is exactly what it's going to be, I mean, I was just so excited, because for me, 7 is like that's the top echelon of Resident Evil games. But again, Disco Elysium, I want to finish the Witcher series. A lot of people, they'll dive in and just play like the modern stuff, play Witcher 3. They'll ignore 1 and 2. Well, I do it the opposite. I'll go back to the old stuff and play it through. And I just loved Witcher 1. And they say the Witcher series is probably the best example of a good game, a great game, and an excellent game, as it progresses. So 1 is good, 2 is great, 3 is excellent. So for me, 1 was excellent. So I can't imagine how great 2 and 3 will be for me. So those are really high in the queue. Fallout New Vegas. Of course, I have to play New Vegas. I have to play 4, and I have to play 76 to complete the franchise. So I want to beat the Fallout franchise this year. I want to finish the Resident Evil franchise. I've got 3 of those games left, and I want to finish the Silent Hill franchise. Um, I'm not even halfway through those yet. But also Alan Wake 2, we might get that this year, or some Remedy game from what I call the Remedy trilogy. So I'm really excited to play that. There's a System Shock remaster. People aren't talking about it. A lot of people don't know about it, but there's a System Shock remaster that's coming out this year. That's
Yeah.
that's got me pretty stoked too. And I've committed to buy a PS5 towards the end of the year to play the new God of War, the New Horizon. But to play those, I need to play the first ones. That's 2 games I missed last year that I owned day one. I think both of those games came with my PS4. When I bought the
Mm.
PS4, it had The Last of Us remaster, God of War, and Horizon Zero Dawn. And I was planning to play God of War and Horizon within the first couple of months, but I started Horizon, got distracted, but I'm going to do those two. Um,
Mm.
and for me, the main goal is just to keep smashing. Last year I beat 56 games. I want to beat also another 50 plus this year. I want to have as good a year as I had last year. Last year was, for me, it was, I mean, it was just phenomenal because 2019 was actually my first full year back in the gaming. And I really, that was like, that year was like heating up for me, really getting back into it. And then 2020 was just like all out smashing it, just gaming like crazy. And I want to have another one of those years where I uncover all of these jewels from the past 15 years that I didn't know about because I wasn't gaming, and play the new stuff. And my main goal is to have as good a year as I had last year. And the last one that I hadn't mentioned that I had also forgot about was the Metal Gear Solid series. Everybody says that is a stealth game that's right up my alley.
Metal Gear.
So I'm going to hit Metal Gear pretty hard.
You're going to be busy. Let's take a sidebar here because it sort of it rolls into anticipated games as well. I was thinking about this the other day. You're both some big survival horror fans. The last few years, in January in particular, they've been massive with the RE3 remake, the RE2 remake. The Village is coming now, the Medium as well. The front part of the year must be the best time for you two, I imagine, with games at the moment.
Well,
It's like Christmas for us.
I don't know. There's not a whole lot really coming out the first part of the year. The only one I can think of is the Medium, because Village doesn't come out till I think October.
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Do we have a release date? Because last I heard it was Aprilish.
Eh, I think that's pretty
Because they
optimistic,
just
but it
no.
might
Well,
be.
see, they've been releasing the Resident Evil games early in the year, and then they just posted this week that next week they're doing I guess a deep dive as far as
Yeah, I
promotional
saw
work goes.
that.
They're showing a new trailer, and they got Brittany Bombacher, who's like a huge Resident Evil fan and a podcaster. They got her hosting it, so it seems like they're starting to ramp up their marketing campaign for Village. If that's the case, we might get a release date next week.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, next week now that I'm thinking of it, they'll probably give us a firm release date, because
That'd be awesome,
they
dude.
you could probably tell better than me, but Capcom really isn't bad about postponing games, do they? They release when they say, don't they?
Yeah, it typically I can't think of the last big delay. They usually just don't announce until they're about ready.
Well, good.
So, but the cool thing is they just I'm a part of all these Resident Evil groups and all these insiders and ambassadors for their programs. Just got through beta testing a brand new Resident Evil game that hasn't been announced yet. So on top of Resident Evil Village getting ready to come out, they just tested another experience. Which, if I don't know, I'm guessing it's going to be like the Outbreak series, like a survival horror multiplayer game, not like a shooter or a competitive game like Resistance, that game we played, but this one, should line up more with like the Outbreak series, where you're actually working together to survive the
I could get behind that.
scenarios, not
I
necessarily
mean,
just
we had fun
yeah.
playing Resistance or whatever it was, but it really wasn't my kind of a game. What you're describing sound where we're working together, to survive. That sounds like that's more up my alley.
Oh, well, look, whenever it releases, it will be fun. It brings up an interesting point about how many delays the Levi may fall this year after the catastrophe of CD Projekt Red. But I suppose that is something we're going to have to wait and see on. But look, those releases all from Capcom have all been very solid. I'm sure you would both agree. So I'm sure you're in safe hands there for this.
Oh yeah.
Well, the delays don't really bother me. I'm totally fine. I would rather wait and have a game that I'm going to enjoy that doesn't have issues. Delays don't bother me. What bothers me is these games that release that are nowhere near finished, or they call it early access, or whatever. If I'm gonna sink $60, and my time, which is even more valuable, into playing something, my first initial experience, which should be by far your best experience with
Yeah.
a game. That's how it was. Once you
Agreed.
go back, where me and Darrell are
Mm.
retro gamers. When we plugged in, you know, Super Metroid on Super Nintendo, or or Earthbound or Chrono Trigger or Super Mario World or Donkey Kong 64, whatever it might be, that
Yep.
was, Resident Evil 2, whatever. Um, that was the best experience you would ever have with that game. That first impression, that initial play, that is a high that you never match again playing that game. And if that is ruined because a game was not ready, to me, nothing destroys that experience and puts a sour taste in my mouth like a game that is released that is not ready. It just ruins the whole purpose for me.
Yeah.
So I would like to see these developers get their act together, delay if you need to, but when you release a game to me, make sure it's right.
I hope that with this CD Project Red thing, I really do, even though I don't want the developers, what I'm saying, to suffer because of managerial decisions. Like, I want to see some people start getting sued and some things change, because ever since we got these always online consoles and they're like, ship a broke game, we'll patch it
It's
later,
terrible.
and it's just such a terrible business practice. What a terrible principle to, we're saying live by. And it's just, like I do remember the days where you put the disc in, you put the cartridge in, it worked, and that was the game. And if it didn't work, because there were a handful of games over the
Right.
years, very, very few and far between, that were just flat busted, those went down in history as broken games that were irredeemable.
And that has been the biggest shock, the biggest surprise to me. Me being a retro gamer that then took many years off and now coming back into it after an 11-year hiatus and seeing how this is now the common practice and it is
Yeah.
accepted. These gamers accept it as common practice for a game, for their first experience for this game that they're going to love and have been excited for this first experience to be butchered, and oh, they'll fix it later. And that is, I am in awe still just thinking about it, that we accept that. So I'm with you. I would like to see some serious changes made. And me personally, all we can do, us three and the people listening to this podcast, all you can do is vote with your dollars.
Mm.
And that
That's right.
is a principle that I'm a capitalist. I believe in the market. I believe in voting with my dollars, and I will vote for the developers that do right by me and by my fellow
100%.
gamers. These people that release these butchered games as early release to cash in money, and they'll even, not to just pick on Cyberpunk, but I pre-ordered Cyberpunk originally about a year and a half before, and it was supposed to release in, I think, January, February. It was a year later before we got the games. Um, so I actually didn't get it till 18 months after pre-order and 12 months after I was supposed to have it. So these people that take your money so early and just then release you a game that's not finished, people that treat me that way, that's not where, next time, as much as I'm going to love the Witcher games, when CD Projekt Red comes with their next big game, I will not pre-order it. I'm not going to say I won't buy it. I, I'll probably buy it early and enjoy it if it's right. But I am not going to give them my money early again. And that helps them. You guys know that helps them tremendously. Getting that
Mm.
money up front allows them to do so many things. It helps those developers so much.
Oh, yeah.
It helps the entire supply chain, the whole 9 yards. CD Projekt Red will not get my money up front anymore, until they prove they can do better. But these other developers, like I'll say Obsidian, they seem to have done pretty good. I can't actually think of a whole lot right off the top of my head, but Naughty Dog, these developers that seem to want to produce a good product early on, do the right thing, those are the people that's going to get my money. So get it early and vote with your dollars.
100%.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. It's a very good point to make, and I think there's a few things. I don't know if you agree with this or not, so we won't get bogged down here. But I think the reality is that a lot of people assumed CD Projekt Red was a AAA studio because they made The Witcher 3. Now, The Witcher 3 was very good, but The Witcher 3 was a project that evolved over time. It evolved over almost 2 years to get to the state that it was. Admittedly, it did release in a much better condition than perhaps their current property, but there's an element of this feeling that they're a Ubisoft or they're an EA, and maybe they have money, but they're not, and that takes years to make. And I think this has shown the community that perhaps you can't expect the polish of an Assassin's Creed game or whatever else from a studio that's not a AAA. It's a lot, and I know there was a lot of people working on CD Projekt Red game, and I know that Cyberpunk, and I'm not making excuses for them, but I think that's the thing. But I think the bigger thing, and this is what interests me, Levi, because you play a lot of PC, and this is a major fault on Sony and Microsoft, although I excuse Sony because Sony won't do anything about it. They have no quality control, as we all three agree and know. But Microsoft perhaps will because of their lean into the PC, but it's something that's inexcusable for both companies. It's something that's adopted on PC. It resolves this problem. It's all over Steam. It's over Epic as well. And of course, it's the term early access. And here, a perfect example, Levi, is Baldur's Gate 3. It's a game that I'm highly anticipate playing. I can play it today at full price if I so wish, but slapped on it is a massive sticker. This is in early access. This is not a finished product. It may improve over time. It may not. This is what you're getting. Until the consoles start to put this tag there, it's a very much a buyer beware situation that will lead to what happened with CD Projekt Red here, which could have been avoided with that tag. And more importantly, it's going to destroy so many indie developers that are going to fall victim to this same thing where you look at it and you go, oh, look, I'm just not going to take a risk anymore. And yes, many of those indie developers need the money up front. They can't sustain a loss like CD Projekt Red can sustain here and turn it into a profit down the track. So I don't know. It's a bit of a rant, I suppose, Levi, but I feel very firmly that we need to see that early access tag on console.
I won't play early access. I'm against it completely. So I don't want to see that tag. I don't want that concept to become popular.
I don't either.
Like I said,
well, so you would rather the game...
When I play that game, I want it to be right. I want my first experience to be amazing.
So you would rather the game come out like it did, Cyberpunk. Now, I know you played on the PC, it was okay, but you're saying you would rather that game come out on console and it sort of take a dive like it did and people get burnt.
Absolutely.
Rather
because there would be a lashback then. If this whole early access becomes the common theme, well then the gaming industry as a whole, that will become so accepted that my first initial experience that I was telling you about, that doesn't happen anymore. I don't get that enjoyment anymore. I at least get the satisfaction of knowing the cyberpunk disaster is going to have a huge lashback and things might get fixed.
Yeah, I don't know. I find that interesting anyway. I think perhaps we're living in a little bit of naivety that it doesn't already exist. I mean, Division 2, Ghost Recon Wildlands, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Dirt 5, I mean, even Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they all released in various stages of early access, some a lot more than others, and have been patched to be fixed. I think it's a little bit perhaps naive on the console side to, whether you want to play it or not, I think it's totally your choice because you know what it is. At least if it's there on PC, you know it's in that state. Unfortunately, we don't know with the console, and I think it's only going to get worse because we're right at the junction between two consoles. And one of the most interesting things I've been doing is buying up all the Series X enhanced games, which, I'm sure they're similar on PS5. It's a little bit vague on how some of them are enhanced. And one of the ones that interests me the most was Watch Dogs Legion, having played it on PS4. I picked it up on the X. It's supposed to have ray tracing, improved graphics. I don't notice any difference. It does have faster loading times, but it doesn't, and compared to something like Dirt 5, which I can see a massive difference. So I think there needs to be some sort of a tag on some of these games that they are being released and they are still in some sort of development. Just for the general person.
CJ, let's take a little step back just out of curiosity. I am a big Baldur's Gate fan, and I actually think 3, I don't think you have to buy it at that price tag. I think it's on PC Game Pass. I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain it is. Have you actually played that yet? Because I'm curious of your opinion if you have.
Now, so unfortunately, well, I didn't see it on the Game Pass, so it was a 90 Australian, which is fine. That's what it will be at launch. Unfortunately, it pushes the specs of my PC a little bit, so I decided not to. But I also decided for that game not to. Now, I've played quite a few games in the last year or two on early access builds and things. I'm even playing an MMO at the moment, which is it's an interesting experience. I wouldn't necessarily encourage anyone to do that, perhaps. But for that game in particular, it's a highly narrative game or whatever. It's a complex systems game. I feel that for myself, I will wait there because it will be a better experience for me. But I don't treat every early access game like that, I suppose, if that makes sense.
Well, that is my whole concept completely, and it looks like I just typed that in on my Game Pass, and apparently I was wrong. Maybe it was on there, but it's no longer on here.
Yeah. Well, look, let's put a pin in that because it's just it's an interesting debate. But of course, on the PC, as you said, Levi, it's still quite a decent game, Cyberpunk, isn't it? It's an enjoyable experience.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Now, is it this genre-defining masterpiece, greatest game ever made? No, it is not. It is a good game. It's a great game. I enjoy the game. It is not just this terrible game that deserves a bunch of hatred, and it's not this masterpiece made by the Lord Himself. But it is a great game, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm about 3/4 of the way through the game.
It definitely has me intrigued because of all the talk. So until I've played it, I suppose I can't comment. Now, Darrel, I'm interested. We've obviously heard about Resident Evil Village. It's coming soon. Resident Evil series. Are there any other games that are interesting you this far out for this year? Is there anything sort of on the horizon?
Yes, and unfortunately, I received bad news this past week that I might not be able to participate just yet. So, like Levi mentioned earlier, The Medium is coming out in 3 days of this recording, actually. If I got that date right. But I just started listening to this new Xbox podcast, and they were announcing on there that the developers dropped the Xbox One, the original Xbox One, Xbox One X versions of the Medium, and they're going strictly Series X and Series S. And I was very disappointed because I specifically didn't buy an Xbox because they said, and this is the funniest thing how this works out. Sony said, we're focused on generations. We're going to have PS5 specific games and then release everything on PS4. Xbox says, we're not worried about generations. We're releasing everything everywhere and then release the Medium only on Xbox One X. I'm like, come on. I made my decisions for that reason.
Now, it's still releasing on PC, right?
I believe so, but like my PC can't run that. If my Xbox can't run it, there's no way in Hades my PC will run it. Because the idea is they have to they're rendering both worlds, the spirit world or dream world or Hades world, whatever it is, and the real world. So the way they're saying is that the old console can't run it. Well, then there's no way my junky PC is going to run it. So unless I build a PC this year or buy an Xbox Series X, I'll have to wait on that one. Other than that, to kind of take a little dip away from the survival horror, I am extremely excited about 2 games. The new Ratchet & Clank looks a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed the 2016 Ratchet & Clank, the reimagining of the first game. I thought that was by far the best Ratchet & Clank to date. I own every game they've ever put out. I think Insomniac are tremendous developers. And I thought that Ratchet & Clank was so good. Platinum the game, had a blast. I so look forward to this new one. But I'm also extremely excited about Remedy's new game, the Crossfire X, I believe it is. They're making the campaign mode for that Crossfire game or whatever for Microsoft. So I don't know what it's going to look like, and I don't, but after playing the last few Remedy games, Quantum Break included, even though I don't think that it's their best game, I am extremely excited about anything they put their hands on, and I like them so much, in fact, that last year I went back and played the original Max Payne. There's a PS2 to PS4 kind of up-resed release of Max Payne, the Remedy developed version. And I think they did the first two, and then Rockstar took over for the third one or whatever. But man, I tell you what, I dig Remedy. I really like them, and anything that they announce, anything they put their hands on, I'm diving in.
I have to ask you both, because you're both massive Remedy fans, and it's an interesting studio. Obviously, their original ties with the Xbox, then they were free. They looked like they were moving in the direction of Sony, but Control sold very poorly across both systems, but the worst selling apparently on the PS4, and for obvious reasons for performance and things like this. They now look like they're swinging slightly back to Microsoft with their inclusion of Control and perhaps the Control Special Edition or whatever console edition in the future Game Pass. But it's very unclear where they sit. Do you think this new game will be cross-gen, or are you anticipating having to move to the PC or Xbox?
The contract is with Epic.
Mm.
So the deal, it's a 3-game deal with Epic. So
yeah,
they may not be on console at all. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah,
they're
in an interesting space.
I couldn't imagine it not coming to console, but all we know is that Epic will have them for certain.
Well, maybe we'll get it for free, Levi, in the game for the week.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
The way Epic's doing. Yeah.
It'd be wonderful, though, wouldn't it? But it almost seems like there's enough there to twist your arm into this Xbox later this year, Darrel.
You know what? I've always been the guy that said that, like, I buy specific consoles based on their, their exclusives. Like, that's what I'm after, and that's why I've been so attracted to Sony for so many years. I mean, A, they have the best controller, and B, they have the best, operating systems, and C, they make the best games. And okay, you know what? Sony's just better all the way around. But I really, I like me some Xbox too. I'm just being silly. But man, seeing that Microsoft's going to turn around and then hit me with a survival horror exclusive, I've got no choice. I mean, they're twisting my arm, and I got to do it.
Levi, do you have the carrot there? The Sony pony is getting hungry.
I was wondering if y'all were gonna just nothing. Y'all just no sold it. I'm like, so.
Hey, Darrell, just so you know, I did just pull up the Medium on my Game Pass PC. It is coming to Game Pass PC.
I'll try and run it at the lowest specs possible, but like, I don't know. I mean, I can't even run Zencaster on Google Chrome, so good luck. Well, I might be building a PC sooner than I thought.
It is the tempting thing. It'll be interesting to see which way you go, because I was on two minds about a PC or the Xbox, and I went the Xbox for ease of convenience. But I would not be surprised at all if you do go the PC route. I suppose we'll have to wait and see.
Darrell, you missed the medium specs. You've got the GTX 1050. The min specs is the 1060 with a i5 6600. Yep. So you
see, and that's my problem right there with PC gaming. But see, I kind of need to build one for my little recording studio, anyways. And I kind of put the plug in to my wife. I was like, hey, I've been rocking my laptop, doing the best I can with it, and it's good, but I kind of need to build something specific to my needs and interests. I was like, and the medium, but so we'll see. I'll probably be there sooner than later.
I like that. Now, this is a question, I suppose, specifically for Darrel, but you're already experiencing this, Levi, so you can sort of talk to it as well. But one of the things that I didn't anticipate getting the Series X was how it would affect my gaming on the base Xbox and the PS4 as well. And and not to sound snobby or whatever else, but, and I know it's the same for the PS5, the loading times being so much better, even in the older games that they look better or whatever else. And it's now got me to this point, Darrel, where I'm like, with a few of the Sony exclusives like Bloodborne and things that I haven't played yet, I was like, well, I might just wait until I can get a PS5 because, I'm going to be dying a lot in that game. I need increased loading times or whatever. But I noticed in the last month, it's really twisted my arm a little bit to maybe playing things specifically on the next-gen machine. And I wanted to ask that, are you still moving between your PS4 and 5, or are you sort of now locked onto the 5 for a similar reason, I suppose?
I feel 100% the same way. It was crazy because I've got so many PS4s in this house. My kids all have them. I've got one in my bedroom, and I've got my PS5 right here beside me in the office. And the PS5 runs the games so much better that now I'm having this conversation. Well, I can play this game in the room with the wife, and so that's fine. But I want to play this game on the PS5 because it's better. You know, even if it is just the loading times, and it could be just seconds better. But I swear, it's like you put something in, it just runs so much smoother. So, like, I'll give you an example right now: the Avengers. I will not play the Avengers on the PS4. It runs so much better on PS5. Like my boys are playing it on PS4, and I like go down there and I'm watching them play. I'm like, man, this runs like crap, Like this is so much faster on the PS5. So, and I
Mm.
apologize. I know we talked earlier. The noise in the house is so loud. We got a Fortnite tournament going on, birthdays. All that noise in the background is downstairs in a different room. Like
Is
that.
Spider Pack smoking them?
Oh, he was wrecking. He won the trophy for the night. So
Good for him.
I love that. No, that's more than
Spider
understandable.
Pack is Darrel's 6-year-old now. Is he 6?
6 years old yesterday. Yep.
6 years old, yeah. Oh yeah, he's an awesome little fella.
Yep.
Seeing we've brought Darrel's children into it, I don't, look, Darrel, I'm not going to offer parenting advice because, I try and stay as far away from children as possible, as you know, but it did open my eyes slightly that your eldest will be playing Bloodborne this year, but what am I to say? But more interestingly, I found that your daughter there is going to be playing the My Universe cooking restaurant game, and I think that's a wonderful pick, and I was wondering if perhaps you'll jump into a little bit of that action as well this year.
You know what? I will dabble and play any game that they play. I picked that up for her for Christmas because she's been asking me for like recipes. She goes, Dad, I want to play a cooking game that actually allows me to create recipes and make stuff, not just, do whatever 2 or 3 things are on the screen, and she plays a bunch of little cooking and decorating iOS games. So I looked into that one. That one seemed to be a little more in line with what she likes, and the kids are all excited about participating in the event this year. So she wanted to do that one. She's like, I'm going to cook and I'm going to make recipes and I'm going to knock it out. So I'll give it a shot. Like it looks like the type of game that might have a pretty sustainable trophy list.
Yes, and it's good. It's good.
So there's a cooking game on the Vita called Taco Master. Have you ever played that one?
It's great. Yes. Yeah.
That is awesome. I enjoyed that game so much. Like I loved that game. So, but yeah, and as far as my oldest playing Bloodborne, so like we're kind of bending the rules, letting him play a game that's that horror inspired and has blood and all that crap in it. But all his little buddies are playing it, and it was one of those things to where they'd get online and play and he'd be left out. And I've played the game. It's not that bad. I mean, it's got some blood in it, whatever. The game's just hard, but like he's so freaking good at it. Like him and his buddies plowed through the first third of the game with no issues in one sitting. So I told him, I was like, hey man, I'm gonna let you play the game, but like the first nightmare, you know what I'm saying? You're done. I mean, and he's 10, he'll be 11 this year. And I know that's that's young,
He's
but
about past that.
yeah, my thing is I was playing Resident Evil at 10 and 11, and that was Bloodborne of my day,
Oh
so
yeah, probably
I turned out
worse.
fine.
Now I'm starting the Souls games this year myself, so I look forward to it. I'm getting some conflicting information. T-Bird says start the Soul series with Bloodborne, and I may do that, but I might do Dark Souls 1 in the remastered version. But some people say just try Code Vein. So I don't know where to start.
Well, Code Vein is a kind of a Souls inspired game. It's not part of the actual
Right,
core Souls games,
it's a
and
Souls like.
it's supposedly easier, so it would be more of a entry level game to get into that style.
Right.
Bloodborne is definitely the fastest and most accessible when it comes to combat and parrying. So, my advice would be try Souls like that the Soulsborne people recommend. Bloodborne or Code Vein. If you enjoy that, just know that when you do the Dark Souls trilogy, it's going to be a step back and it's going to be a bit more methodic. Is that right? Methodical.
Methodical, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to have to kind of like, it's just a hair slower and a little bit more, thinking about it. You don't like hack and slash games anyway, so you might not struggle with that. See, me, I'm a button mashing hack and slash fool.
Wait, so you're saying the Souls games is a lot of hack and slash?
No, it's not. It's a lot of timing and parrying and then concentrated strikes. See, me, I don't want to do that. And that's part of why it's so friggin' hard for me, because I can't turn my brain off and smashing the button just to hit stuff. You know?
Right.
It's Darrel. I think we have a similar problem with those games. I wonder if you suffer this curse as well, where you're fighting the big bad, the monster or whatever else, and you get it down to half health, and you're on about 3/4 health, and you start to make a decision whether just standing there wailing at him, you'll have enough health left to beat him before he beats you. Not the way it was ever meant to be played.
No, it's like I've played so calm and collective. It's like, oh crap, I got a chance, and then I get greedy every time. And then I die, and then I'm mad at the game. Not me, of course, because I made the right decision. The game just cheated.
Yeah, I like that. And look, I wasn't passing judgment on age-appropriate material. What I was rather doing was thinking, damn, 90% of the community has beaten Bloodborne, and now Darrel's young son will beat it as well before me. So, look, it was just the reality. It was just
I haven't beat it either. Part of me...
we might play it at the same time together. If you decide to commit, let me know. I'll commit
Levi,
at the same time.
Levi, I tell you this right here. You will be so aggravated at the multiplayer setup for that game. It seems like an afterthought, like it came after the game was created. So like you have to acquire an item so that you can summon somebody into the game. You can't just go into a menu and load in. It is the most convoluted, hard to do thing. And then once you invite someone in, you have to like kind of ring a bell. They've got to answer the bell. They got to join your game. If you die, it kicks them out. You got to start the whole process over. You can run out of, it is a mess. And then here's the worst part. When you ring the bell and you invite your friend in, it also invites other players to come invade your game and kill you both. So you could experience the game like I did, where you get the game, you're having a bunch of connectivity issues, you finally get your friend in the game, and then some douchebag comes in and kills you both, and then you got to start over.
That's right. And they always do, because they can smell fresh blood. I mean, the game is not hard enough. Now I'm getting hung. It's like the original Watch Dogs all over again. I remember coming into that mechanic. It's not friendly for an unskilled gamer, but I'm sure it's amusing for a skilled gamer. Now, I'm conscious of the time, so I want to move to this last section now, listeners, here with Resident Darrell and Levi. Now, obviously, all running our own shows and doing our own things and, living a semi-balance of a normal adult life as well, it's very difficult for us to find time to sit down together, obviously, there's a bit of distance as well, luckily a bit of distance between America and Australia at this point in time as well. So,
true that.
So what
it's early morning there, isn't
it? Midday, yeah.
Midday, okay.
Yeah. What we've decided to do is to pick 2 games for each other. So obviously we've talked about events and everything like this before, but 2 games that we're not out to bait each other. Well, I hope that doesn't turn out to be the case here. Games that might interest us, so that we'll commit to playing over the next, may take all year or 6 months or however long it's going to take. Then we'll all meet up again if that's all right with you gentlemen, and talk through these.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we are committing to beating these games, right?
Yes.
The 2 games that we call for each other, we are making a gentleman's agreement that we will finish these 2 games this year.
Yes, I'm happy with that. Darrel, is that a possibility for you?
I'm 100% with that.
I'm going to hold Darrel's feet to the fire. If December comes around and these 2 games are not finished, I'm going to call him because I know he gets up at about 6 a.m. I'm going to call him at about 5 and say, you need to get an hour in before you take off to work. I'm going to hold his feet to the fire, because we've all heard those Darrel bold statements of, I'm beating this by this day and this one by that day. But these 2 are going to happen.
Hey,
Actually,
check it out.
You're going to have 4, because you've got to beat the 2 CJ and the 2. You got 4 games. You better start them tonight. Like when we get off of this podcast, you better dive in and get a head start on this thing.
I'm down with that. So check it out. I'm down for let's not even give each other the whole year. Let's say 3 to 6 months. Initially,
that sounds good.
CJ said 3 months. And I say 3 to 6 months. Let's plan to meet back here and share our adventures. Because I'm telling you, man.
All right, well, that's the deal. We
I'm
meet
beating some games.
We meet in 3 months, and 2 games have to be beat. And we meet in 6 months. The other 2 games have to be beat.
There you
Yeah,
go.
so half and half.
There
I
you go.
like that. Yeah, that sounds
All
good.
right.
And Levi, I'm going to hold you to that because holding Darrel's feet to the fire is going to be a challenge because he's actually, my understanding, hidden his PlayStation account. He no longer shows his trophies. Well, at least that's what he tells us with his leaderboard performance. So there is no way for us to know that he has or has not finished Death Stranding or FF7 Remake, which he promised his listenership last year, or not, Levi. So we're definitely walking in the dark here with this man, but we'll have to take that.
Hey, at the same time, we've got kind of a gentleman's agreement going on that we're not trolling each other. We're not picking Ratalac or 120-hour game. This ain't spite. We have to pick something that actually makes sense for this person and not something to troll them. So
My name is Mayo 1. My name is Mayo 2.
don't
A
throw that
Ratalaika.
trash at me.
A Ratalaika 120-hour game. That is every trophy hunter's nightmare. I can't wait. Wait for that. It could happen. Well, look, why don't we jump in? Would you like to lead with a game here, Levi? A game or two?
Yeah. I'm going to lead with a game that I have for both of you. CJ, you might have already played it, but I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I want you both to play Half-Life 2.
Oh,
I have not
snap.
played it yet.
Have either of you played it?
No.
I've played it and beat it, but I played it and beat it a long time ago, so I will gladly play this game again.
Nope. That is off the list for you. Alien Isolation.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Oh no. You shouldn't have spoken. From the good to the bad in a flick of a
You should have, because Alien Isolation is a much harder game.
I mean, I said Half-Life 1. I meant Half-Life 1, Levi.
Hey, you also now, since we've got 2 off the list, I'll go ahead and give you your other game, and it is a long one. Wasteland 3.
Oh, wow.
Oh, snap. Dang, it's going to take me 6 years.
So yeah, that's about 70 hours of gameplay I just put on you.
I've never seen the glass. I've never seen the glass go from half full to half empty so quickly, Darrel. That is it's wonderful.
I need to rethink my list because I was trying to be nice.
Okay, well look, I'll go next then. And look, I haven't buried either of you here. I picked. It was funny because I thought it would be a challenge to pick games that would, I know you haven't played, that might interest you and that I think you should play. I thought it would be a challenge, and then actually it was a lot easier than I expected. So Levi, I'll lead here with you. I'll show my hand. The first one is of no surprise, the Kentucky Route Zero. I think this, we've talked about this before. I do push this out to you with a little trepidation because I know you like point and clicks and I know you like old school games. It's a game that, look, it's a game you're either going to love or you're going to hate, I think, but I think it's a game that you have to play, and it's a game that when I hear people have played, my ears spark up because there's so much in there, and I really would love to hear more opinions. So that's my first choice for you. That's around a 12 to 15 hour game, not a 70-hour game.
That is perfect.
Yeah, and the second one, now this is an interesting game. I don't think you'll have ever heard of this game, let alone play it. Now, it's possibly only around 10 hours or so, although it could be done in less time depending on if you find it interesting or not. And it's called Solitaire Conspiracy. I don't know if you've ever heard of this game.
Solitaire, T-I-E-R?
Solitaire, the game, a card game, Conspiracy. And what it is, I'll tell the listeners in case you don't know. It's a PC only game at this point. It's by Mike Bithell. So Mike Bithell, for console gamers, will know him from Thomas Was Alone. Perhaps Darrel, you played this Volume as well. He did Subsurface Circular in the last few years for Switch and PC. He's an indie game dev that he creates really unique projects. And the reason I chose this for you, Levi, is I know that you have a little interest in the FMV genre, the motion video genre, and it's a really interesting property. It combines the card game Solitaire with actual motion video capture. So it's half FMV, half Solitaire, but there's a lot of rules and things going on, but you can just play it as normal Solitaire if you want. It's all set in this spy world where you've been called in to sort of save the world. And surprisingly, Darrel, and I found this interesting, it's actually narrated by Greg Miller, and I'm not I'm not, a massive fan or not fan of Greg Miller. He's fine or whatever, but he's actually really good in this. He's sort of serious. He's not too campy. He's not too over the top. And I really enjoyed this game. So again, I'm not sure what you feel about card games, but I think you're going to enjoy this experience.
I'm a big
overall.
card player, so
Yeah.
I'm all for that. So yeah, I'm excited about both those games. And you picked two really nice indie games that a lot of people, don't know a lot about. So I look forward to trying those. And Darrell, I'm going to make you a deal, since that is two long and hard games. If you give me Alien Isolation, if you start Wasteland 3 and you are just really not digging it, I'm not going to make you finish a 50-hour game. So start it.
Yep.
Start it. Truly, I want you to start it. And if you are really not digging it, you must commit to finishing a game style that you despise, but I think is a masterpiece, Outlast. You have to play Outlast and really give it a chance if you don't finish.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Levi. I'll put them all on there. So I won't play Alien Isolation. I've got it installed and downloaded in my bedroom, actually. It's on my list of things to complete this year, as a matter of fact.
Do not beat it on. Do not try to play it on hard from the beginning.
That's what I heard. I've heard that
normal or maybe even easy.
Even easy, yeah. I've heard even then, because the difficulty ratchets up so hard at the end.
Yes.
After the first 8 hours, but so that, and I'm down for Wasteland 3. I haven't played a game like Wasteland in a long time, so I'm not opposed to it. So.
It is quite possibly my game of the year. It's up there for me at the top with Half-Life Alyx and Control and those. That being said, it would be a dick move to make you go finish all of Wasteland 3 and judge through that if you really did not enjoy it. So I know you'll like Alien Isolation, and I am 90% confident that, if you don't finish, you don't want to do Wasteland and take the Outlast option, even though you don't like the running. If you really give that game a chance, I think you'll love it as much as I did.
100%.
So
that's a wonderful loophole you've given him, because Darrell is one of the best game starters I know. He may not finish many, but he starts them with the best. Now, look, I'm not going to give you any quarter here, Darrell, because as a podcast host, as a gaming aficionado, there are some games that you should play. In fact, there's one game that every serious gamer should play. Now, I made a little joke about trying to get you to finish a JRPG at some point this year. I noticed you dropped the J off it and went with RPG. They are a different category. Just in case you didn't know. But this is not a 100-hour JRPG. This can be done in 20 hours, 30 hours maximum. You can get a platinum if you want in that time, or you don't have to. It is the wonderfully wonderfully bizarre. It's a mashup of so many different styles: side scroller, shoot 'em up, top down, narrative, VN, open world action. It's got a bit of everything in there. It, of course, and it's a travesty you have not played it yet. It is, of course, the wonderful Nier Automata.
Man, I've been wanting
I
to
started
play
that on Xbox.
Well, I want you to finish it, because it's a very interesting game, worthy of your time. And the second game, this is specifically for your love of survival horror. Now, as you know, I'm not a big fan of survival horror. I tend to shit myself at the slightest scare in a game. And I started playing this game about a month ago, and I'm still in there. It terrifies me. My last session of this game happened between the hours of 12 to 2 in the morning. I did not sleep for the rest of the night, which is not a good look for a 40-year-old man, I can tell you. It's a French game from a developer in Quebec, in Canada. It's a one-person game, I believe. I'm going to go on a limb and say that, but you wouldn't know it. It's high production value. It is the best of the horror games I've played in the last year or so. It reminds me of Infliction, but on a much, much higher quality level. It has an insanity meter. It will make you feel intense. It has some very challenging puzzles. If you thought your Nutcracker thing was difficult, Levi, you ain't seen nothing yet, but there are some good walkthroughs if you get stuck. And I don't know if you've heard of it or not. You can play it on PS5 if you so wish. It is the wonderful French titled Visage.
Visage? Visage?
Yeah, spelled
Spell
Visage,
that.
yeah, Visage. In fact, it's probably a game that you would both enjoy, but it is very intense.
I like
it is not
Resident. I'm sorry. I like survival horror as much as Darrell. So I'm really
Heck yeah.
excited the thoughts of that.
Yeah, I'll play the full out of that.
It's an amazing game. It was built over time in 3 chapters, but it is all complete when it came to console or on PC. So you can play the whole thing. It's very abstract a game as well, but you'll see that as you get into it. I will put a preface for anyone in the audience listening that's interested in this game. It's definitely not a game for children, regardless of your level of what you would allow them to play. And it warns you at the start. It has a very and there's no spoilers at all, but at the start it has a very confronting scene, and it also it gives you warnings about suicide as well. So any of those things are issues for you. The game warns you that you shouldn't play that, but it is very intense. Once you get past that first scene, it's I think everything you love in these sort of games done very well.
CJ, I've got to ask you a quick question. Kentucky Route Zero, is that a game you played on Switch, or should I stay with PC?
I played it on PS4. I probably would not play it on Switch myself. Full screen, so PC or whatever. Okay. Yeah, it's actually minimalistic, but very beautiful in its own way.
Very good.
So are we happy? Can we commit to those?
I haven't got
Darrel.
Darrel hasn't given me.
Here we go.
Oh, unfortunately, Darrel now has to go. So we'll.
And I still have to give CJ his second game. So. Darrel, you can go ahead and give me yours, and then I'll give CJ his.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I picked games that I thought were a little bit out of y'all's element, and then I picked one game apiece that did either you have mentioned before. I think both of you have mentioned the game that I picked for you. You wanted to play at some point in time or another. So, Levi, I'm going to start with you, and I know the caveat was it needed to be kind of on modern gaming, but I know Levi is a retro gamer.
Correct.
And he likes to dive into that back catalog. So this game is available to purchase on the PS3 or the Vita, but I think right now you can't do it through the app on the systems. You have to get it through
Please tell me you picked one of the Sega Genesis RPGs.
I did not. I picked an RPG, and it's a Japanese RPG, but it's a Japanese survival horror RPG, Parasite Eve.
Dude, wow. I was actually thinking about talking about that on the show tonight. Both Parasite Eve and what's the other one we were talking about for PS1? Shoot. But anyway, yeah, Parasite Eve. Yeah. Thank you for that.
So, the How Long to Beat says it's only about 9.5 hours as the average to beat it. I remember it taking me, but I was younger, so I remember it taking me what seemed like a decade to beat it. Both games. They are some of the most original games I've ever played in my entire life. The Parasite Eve games, the first two, not the third one. Third one's a bit of a misstep, in my opinion. But they're so unique. They're turn-based Japanese, role-playing games with the sci-fi survival horror aspect to them. And I just think there's nothing else like them in the entire world. So I knew that Levi would dig back and enjoy playing something like that. And again, you mentioned it before. So, CJ, the first game I picked for you.
It wasn't 50 games to beat this year, just so you know.
Sweet.
So that was a good hit.
Excellent.
Now, CJ, you had mentioned to me before, we talked early last year about going through the Gears of War games together. You said that they were on your list to play, and I offered to play them with you, at any given time. So the first game I picked for you would be the original Gears of War. And Levi can attest too. Those are some strong, great playing games, but that campaign is so good. It's got really great action.
Talking about the first one?
The first one.
Yeah.
So
it is fun.
So, and you still haven't played those games yet, have you?
Fun fact: that was the last game I played before I went on my hiatus. Back in 2007, I was actually in a top 100 clan for Gears of War Online. So.
Yeah, that's a wonderful choice, Darrel, because I actually just downloaded the Gears of War 5 the other day to start that. But I think going back to the first one would be the logical move. So I look forward to that.
The first three, like that trilogy, that story arc, it really does set the foundation for 4 and 5. You need to play those to know kind of why everything in 4 and 5 is important. But B, that was when Microsoft, Xbox was putting out strong games. Now, granted, the Epic crew made the games, but like they were so strong, and those first 3 games are so good. I highly recommend them. Levi, the second game I picked for you is out of your element, but I think that if you gave it a chance, you would enjoy it. You don't like hack and slash games, but I recommend
Devil
it,
May
or I
Cry.
want you to, yeah, Devil May Cry 5. Now, granted, I
It's
think
also in my top 50.
there
I
you
mean,
go.
my 50 to beat for this year.
I think story wise, it's not the strongest of the series, but it has multiple different characters that almost act as different scenarios. There's different play styles for each character. So some of it is hack and slash, some of it is combo based. And then one character, it's kind of actually weird to play because it's almost like a hit a button, almost like a turn based kind of thing. You hit the button and you wait for the the conjuring that you have to do the action for you. It's very interesting, but graphics and style, this game just
I think
oozes
that
style.
might be on Game Pass or PS Now, isn't it?
It was on Game Pass for a while. I think maybe even PS Now, but either way, it's relatively inexpensive. And shoot, I'll even when you come into town Tuesday, I'll let you borrow my copy so you don't have to pay anything for it.
I'm going to check
And
it
then
right now, see if it's on Game Pass. No, it's not on Game Pass. It might still be
now,
out there, though. I try to play things on PC these days.
yeah, I understand that. So we all make mistakes, but CJ, so for you, if you can hear me over the howling children behind me that are obviously destroying each other, I picked out a game for you. Now, I really wanted to stick you with some good old survival horror, but I figured I would give it to you lightly. All right, so this is a game I talk about all the time, anywhere I get the chance, and it's a first-person horror game with action elements and parkour. So it's going to be Dying Light.
That's
It
cool.
has.
I'll take that.
It has two, like, this game can be played one of two ways, and it is 1000% different of an experience, right? If you play the game by yourself in single player mode, the game takes itself serious, at least the main missions, anyways. The side missions get a little silly sometimes, but the game takes itself serious. It has an amazing soundtrack. The music, the score is so good. The graphics, sound effects, the gameplay, it is one of my favorite games I've ever played. I really enjoy it. If you play it with people, it almost gets slapstick because the abilities that you have and there's the nature of multiple people running around and doing crazy kills and drop kicks on zombies and stuff. It's just two different experiences. So I would highly recommend that you play the campaign in single player, soak in the story, and to really get that atmosphere. And then, do a couple multiplayer sessions just so you get the real fun and excitement of just running around like crazy. Like Levi, Kalai, and myself, we played together a good bit, and we talked and chilled the whole time, so it really took the edge out of the experience and made it a little more silly than anything.
Yeah, Kalai and I beat the game on campaign co-op, so.
Yeah, and I joined in a few of those sessions with you guys, and it was and it's fun. It's a fun game. But if you really do take it serious and play the game as a story and as a campaign, like I beat it with my brother and his wife first, so we were laughing, cutting up. I didn't even know what was going on half the time because once I unlocked the grappling hook and the drop kick, I was running around and diving off of buildings, drop kicking zombies into spike walls. Like it just was absurd, the freedom that you have. And I got the game on PS4 because I liked it so much. I'm like, I'm going to play it again and get my trophies.
Yeah, Darrel was like the drop kick master, and he got me doing the drop kicking too. And I remember
it's
one
insane.
scene, I was running to drop kick somebody, and about the time I got midair, Darrel's sword came through and took that person's head off. And it was like
he stole your kill.
Yeah. And then my left foot, which was south, and my right foot, which was north, the left foot caught his body, and then my right foot caught his detached head and kicked him off of the bridge. And Darrel just starts cackling, laughing because he saw it. He had like the perfect view of this zombie go flying just as the time that I kicked him, and that was one of my all-time funnest.
It was just so
gameplay.
absurd. Yes, it's so funny, and this game's 5, almost 6 years old now, and they still do updates and events. So like Easter time, right? They have little zombies dressed like decapitated or disgruntled, I guess, decrepit, decaying Easter bunnies hiding, you know what I'm saying, grenades painted like Easter eggs. Christmas time there's events and stuff. It's insane. Like the amount of things that they did in this game and the amount of content and the DLC and everything, it's crazy. But if nothing else, play the base game, play the campaign. It's really not that long, and it's just it's an experience, man, and it's one of my favorites. And so I didn't want to. I know you don't like the horror too much, and so I tried to. I got to give you a taste of horror, but I really wanted to give you something with some freedom and some fun in it too. So.
I look forward to that. You can't see it here, listeners, but I actually, before we started, I had on my list here, I was pretty sure Darrel was going to stick with me with this game, and it's a game that I will neck myself if I ever have to try and play again. I understand you're both massive fans of this game, but it does nothing for me except irritate the living shit out of me. Of course, is the original Resident Evil game, closely followed by Resident Evil 4. So the fact that I dodged both of those bullets is a wonderful thing today. I think, Levi, you had one more for me, didn't you?
You joke. I had Resident Evil remake on my list for you, CJ. My original list for you was Resident Evil remake, the original one, and then Call of Duty Ghost, and I dialed it back.
Well, unfortunately, if you have played the next game that I'm about to tell you, the third game, which you would then default to, is a Resident Evil game. So
I haven't played it. It's okay.
It comes down to this: have you played? And I don't think you have Mass Effect 1.
No, actually, I haven't played any of the Mass Effect games.
I was thinking you had told me that you hadn't, and you were really interested because of how much I had bragged on them. Well, now's not only your chance, you have to. You have to play Mass Effect 1. And actually, this one, I'll let you wait, and here's why. The Mass Effect Legendary Remaster series is being released this year. I will let you wait and play the Legendary Remaster.
Yeah, I appreciate that, sir, because as you know, I don't play anything that's older than a year. So to have that now as an opportunity is wonderful. I thought that was the case. That's amazing, guys. And I think, listeners at home, I'll put a list of these games there if you'd like to play at home or whatever, because I imagine when we meet up, as we said, in 3 to 6 months here, it'll almost take the form of maybe a mini deep dive with these games. So, you can come in prepared as well. And I think it's just a testament to perhaps how well, and you can shoot me down here if you like, guys, how well perhaps we're getting to know each other's gaming habits, that we've picked some interesting titles. Well, at least I think they're interesting for me. So I want to thank you both for that.
Well, there's even one that you picked for Darrel, or Darrel picked for you. I can't remember which way it was, but I've been reading about it since. And yes, it does have some hack and slash elements, but this Nier Automata looks right up my alley. I mean, I don't know how much hack and slash it is. If it's just a bunch of button mashing, I wouldn't like it. But it's this alien invasion sci-fi RPG kind of a thing. That's right up my alley. I might play that soon myself, even though it wasn't picked for me.
Well, there you go. I think we've won all the way around. So, as I said, I'm very conscious of the time. I do want to thank you so much, Darrel, for giving up time tonight from your family. I do appreciate the Push2Plat community appreciates that as well. I want to thank you as well, Levi. It's always wonderful talking to you. I'm glad that you throw the Black Mesa, hook across my head again today. I feel it around the neck, dragging me down slowly. I'm sort of happy that we're both still eyeing off Hades and we haven't either started yet. So at least I live for another day on that one. But, before we go out here, would you like to just do a little endorsement of your own show here? Of course, the wonderful Loot Bros podcast, a weekly gaming podcast, and also the Be Legit competition. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you, CJ, for having me on here, man. I carving out a little bit of time to hang out with you and Levi. I don't say this just because I'm talking to you guys. Two of the most... I look forward to talking to you guys any chance I get, Levi and I have had the pleasure of actually living semi close to each other for a little while. So we've got to hang out and do things in person. And, CJ, one day, maybe I'll make it out there to hang out and see the spiders.
Well, the funny thing, we did try. I don't want to take any more of your time, but we were so unlucky with that COVID because we were planning on spending about 3 months in Canada, and I was coming down to see you guys. That was on the cards in September last year, but unfortunately we couldn't leave this country. So it is what it is, but I'm sure one day we will.
Well, dude, like I said, one day that'll happen. So I appreciate you letting me come on here and talk. Levi, it's always a pleasure. As a matter of fact, I look forward to seeing you in just a few
Always.
days. So I really,
Yep, I'll be down Tuesday night for
absolutely.
dinner.
We're gonna eat us some beef.
Yeah, we that was our running trend when I worked for a company that supported Darrel, supplied their steel and some laser parts and whatnot. Our tradition was we would go get a steak for lunch. So even though this one will be dinner, I look
Heck
forward
yeah,
to a
man.
good steak.
Heck yeah.
So
I like that a lot. So look, Levi, I will roast the coals. I will tend the fire and keep it warm. Make sure while you're there, you check his progress on Alien Isolation for us both.
I will, and your best concern is to worry about your progress through the Half-Life series, because you have committed to a Half-Life full series deep dive with me, and you haven't made hardly any progress to my understanding. So now
Dang.
you have
Well,
to.
this may be true, Levi, but I didn't tell you this earlier. I had an accident yesterday. I accidentally cut myself while I was doing a little bit of
Tricky
garden
Rick,
work,
I don't want
and
to
my
hear it.
blood bled.
I don't care whether you bumped your eye, and
I cut.
I don't care about your excuses.
Wow.
I was going to say, it's not going to stop me from gaming, so it's not my eyes, of course, here. I cut my arm, and the blood came out green, so I think I'm closer to the PC Master Race than ever before. So once again, thank you so much for joining me today, guys.
It's a pleasure, man. Later.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
It was my pleasure today to be joined by Resident Darrell and Levi to talk a little bit of everything. I suppose some games, some goals, and some competitions to spur us on, both friendly and maybe a little competitive. We shall see. Of course, if you're interested in the Call Your Shot competition that the Loot Bros are running, you can find more information by jumping in to their Discord or on Facebook, and there'll be plenty of information in the show notes. And don't forget, we have our own community event here at Push2Plat as well, the Now or Never. It's a personal challenge to see whether we can finally knock off those games that we keep putting off in 2020. Now, as I promised, we are going to do a little spam of the week, but it's only 3 minutes. That's right, just 3 minutes in heaven. So you can suck it up, you can survive it. Look, who knows, maybe you'll even find a plat or two. And for those filthy platinum vultures, well, now is your time to shine. Side-scrolling double plat, the 2-stacker Loot Hero DX. That's right, if you hold that right D-pad, then you too deserve a plat. But look, perhaps sometimes you have to move a little bit backwards to move forwards. Look, it's a charming 15-minute plat. It's got some upgrading in there as you go. Now, you're looking for a little skilled spam, perhaps, then let's throw in the release from last year, Mia's Picnic, the fruit matching game. A little bit of memory work perhaps required in this slightly more skill-based spam of 2 stacks. The Pillar Puzzle Escape. Now there's 4 stacks of this beast just waiting for you to plat. The EU, NA, JP, and AS. This can be done in around 40 minutes to 1 hour, perhaps with the help of a guide. Now when you're loading, you may be thinking of the wonderful Jonathan Blow The Witness experience, but trust me, that is as far as this game goes. While it has an interesting and somewhat beautiful art style, the puzzles are very simple, snake-like color matching, or color drawing, I should say. What a wonderful title is up next. It's a game that everyone has to play once, only the hardcore 4 times. Of course, EU, NA, JP, and AS. It is the Drunken Fist, the only game I'm aware of where you can earn a plat while pissing all over your competition. Lost Wing. The EU stack is finally here, available on the Asian Hong Kong store. Now, let's not throw out the Xbox just yet. Life of Fly. Ever wondered what it would be like to be a fly? Well, in this 10 to 12 level simulator, you too can experience that, hopefully for release on PlayStation in the near future. Exhausted after all that 3-minute work? Well, why not turn to a VN, a skipping VN? The wonderful Big Dipper makes its EU appearance again on the Hong Kong store. Planet Rix, the side-scrolling Metroidvania, kind of confusing even with the guide, now drops with a Vita and PS4 stack on the Asian store. It warms my heart to see the wonderful Zillion release their first travesty of Platinum Gold on the PlayStation, well known for increasing gamer score that I believe will peak at 5,000 a game for a few minutes effort. This is their first title for us, The Aborigines. It's a wonderful 15-minute side-scrolling platformer with a chicken. I think you ride as a chicken in this game. Look, there's nothing here that's too difficult, and there's even a story if you so wish to engage. You feel like a little bit of a point and click? Well, we have you covered. My Hidden Things. There's 2 stacks of this minimalistic art style game. It's a beautiful black and white endeavor at a point and click, I suppose. It's actually got a story in there too. It's kind of nice and perhaps comes in as my pick of the spam for this week. And the final one, well, look, it's big in its ideas, but it really perhaps fails to deliver. But if you're a spam gamer, who cares? It is the wonderful Rhythm of the Gods. Yes, it's a little bit skill-based, a little frustrating, but watch the bottom, hit the prompts, technically a rhythm game. But it will reward you with a plat through skill or mashing either way. So that brings us to the Push to Plat community shoutouts. And look, if you've made it this far, you deserve a shout out too. And of course, you can do that by posting in the Discord or joining the free to join PlayStation 4 community, the Push to Plat Platinum shout out community. Leave a little bit about the game if you like, and we'll read it here on the show. Now, the gamers, they have been busy over January, so we're going to get to most of them today. But if you don't hear your shout out, don't panic. I'll throw it into the next week's episode. We're going to start with I'm Styling on Your Bro, number 237, Thief Simulator. I was hoping this simulation would steal my heart, but I was robbed of that joy. They fenced us a knockoff Switch port instead of an authentic PC port. This sim had 2-minute 50 plus load times with pathetic draw distances and nauseating textures. It's about as pleasant to look at as an ISIS beheading. There was also a bug where homeowners' security are psychics. They automatically know where an exterior entrance was tampered with, even when you close everything up as it was. In turn, this alerts the authorities to your presence on the property. Yet, inside the domicile, you can leave everything ajar and they think nothing of it. It was so frustrating when heists would go tits up due to this bug. For a stealth experience, there was a severe lack of audio and visual alert meter system. It was also annoying having to lockpick a door to exit a property you already lockpicked to get in. Severely hindered by being a Switch port, I'm left with the same thought as prom night. Oh, what could have been. There's nothing like reminiscing in the past, is there, sir? It's such a shame to hear, because I know the trophies at one point were glitched and you waited for it, but look, you know, like all great things, if you wait too long, you may climax early. Number 238, Habella's African Adventures. Son of a bitch. I believe I said this was impossible on your podcast. I shan't lie, this was a demotivating bastard. 49 months after finishing an enjoyable campaign, I forced the completion of a hellish shooting gallery. This game's controls were more sensitive than the PSNP's Yuri G and were beyond unintuitive. No disrespect to the wonderful Yuri G. The story had an uber macho man contrasting a girly girl whom wanting animals saved. Wish I'd remembered more, but the plat is the plat. Let's go one more of I'm Styling on Your Bro, and then we'll hold the rest to next week. I told you lot I'd end the horrible 2020 with a bang, in the form of doing a one-night stand. I took all my speaking simulator vernacular and landed a sexy babe at the pub. Today was such a sweet release on a despicable year. I straight up threw this bird's pretty pink panties on and scampered out of her domicile. Wow, if an arse crack was teeth, a thong would be floss. At times I nearly pulled out, but I knew it wouldn't take long to get the job done. It felt so good to bust his nut platinum trophy out, but before the end of 2020 in the form of 239, number 239, one night stand. It's wonderful, sir. It sounds like you got the release you needed to kick out of the year 2020. Moving straight along to Mr. Tam, number 102, Shady Part of Me. This is a delightful game. I'm glad, sir, that you discovered it. But let's see what Mr. Tam thinks. This was a really delightful little puzzle game. The screenshots kind of summarize the gameplay well. Play as both the little girl who can only stay in shadow and her shadow who can only stay in light and solve puzzles. The story is pretty emotional too. Took me 2 play sessions, maybe 6 hours in total. We're incredibly in sync there, so that's wonderful. And number 105, Lego DC Supervillains. The game that keeps on giving. A classic LEGO experience, finish all of the levels and then doing a few hundred collectibles. It was a good time. I don't know, sir, you're not going to convince me of that yet, but hopefully 2021 holds some sort of LEGO joy for myself. Best Trophy Hunter Ever CSO, number 578, UFC 4, Let's Go. Number 579, Men in Black Alien Crisis. And number 587, Snaky Bus, hated the 420 Blazer trophy. Oh, sir, perhaps you're a little too sober for that one, but that's the highlight of the game. Really. Enzi, number 25, it's a massive one. Congratulations, sir. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, glitches and all. Finally, after 305 hours, it is finally complete unto DLC. I enjoyed the game very much minus the bugs I had upon release through collectibles and such. It was, in my opinion, one of the series' best storylines of the last couple of years. Sure, I know there's a lot of extra filler content and collectibles, 780 plus. That's more than a LEGO game. That is insane. In a game, but the story was fantastic for me to continue the grind. I definitely recommend that everyone at least tries it out for story purposes. Thank you, and Happy New Year, everyone. And Happy New Year to you too, MC. I hope it has started off wonderfully. Arena, number 1. Oh, now this is lovely. Number 1, make, have, get a baby. Congratulations, sir, to you and your family. I think this will be the hardest ultra rare you ever crack. Well done, sir. Number 178, Deep Island Riptide Definitive Edition. This game is arse, just like the original. Well, there you go. Be careful of Dead Island Riptide. Onwards we press. Dino Roar, number 1400, a massive milestone. Number 1400. I didn't even know the numbers went that high. That is phenomenal, sir. And he's done it in style. Moto GP19, well, not one that you see often, sir, so I tip my hat to you before I even read. Well done. Without doubt, the hardest MotoGP game made to date. I enjoyed every minute with this game, and the challenge of it just made it even more special. To quote Spammy, well, that's me, from episode 77, you're about to hit a wall because MotoGP 19 is very, very tough. The difficulty trophy in beating the championship is really going to test you a lot. The cake ride is definitely over now. And it is, sir, isn't it? I mean, this was more than the 5 minutes you're used to with the majority of your wonderfully diverse Rata Plat collection, and it's great to see you committing to such a long game. I imagine it pushed your completion percentage up, and for that, I commiserate for you. Diego EDJ3DG, number 69, Red Dead Redemption. Classic, an absolute classic on the PS3. I look forward to your thoughts in a year or 2 or 5 when you complete Red Dead Redemption 2, the monster, the Goliath of a game. Gaz Davis, number 74, Need for Speed Rivals. Enjoyed the game, but completing 120 speed walls was a bit laborious. It's one of the few Need for Speed games I never played, Gaz, the cross-gen one between PS3 and PS4. I've heard mixed things about it, but I'm glad that you enjoyed it, minus the trappings around the side. Zoot J, Neo 2 completed to 100%. Congratulations, from all accounts, a very challenging but rewarding game. Zador VP, look, it's a massive game, and not only did he do it once, but he stacked it in style, completing this on both the PS4 and PS5. It is, of course, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Great continuation of the AC franchise with some exciting possibilities for where the modern-day story goes next. This game has beautiful scenery, great characters, good voice acting, fun activities, an easier gear and leveling system, some great humour, and the return of proper assassinations in one of the longest sentences I've read in my life. On the flip side, it made the Raven nearly useless compared to the previous two ACs that had eagles and suffered from a lot of bugs. For the Plat, I played through the PS4 version normally while making saves to use for the auto-popping of the PS5 version, then did so on the PS5 version. It still took 2 hours and 45 minutes to get it done due to the poor performance of Ubisoft Connect. Took over an hour to get it to work enough to finally make a cloud save for my last trophy of playing against all Orlog players. So there you go, listeners. If you think you are hardcore, you have definitely come to the right place. Stacking Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I tip both digital hats to you, so that is a wonderful achievement, and I still believe that time of 2 hours and 45 minutes holds up today. Well done. 3 Spooky 5U, Apex Legends 100%. Congratulations on that long, grindy trophy and completion. And to wrap us out today, Ed the Shed 2014, number 162, My Aunt is a Witch PS4 NA stack, a fun little VN point-and-click game, and a great art style. Number 164 and 165, Phasalis PS4, PS5 EU stack. And number 167 and 168, Loot Hero DX EU and NA stacks. It's been lovely to talk to you this week, listeners. It's been wonderful to catch up with friends as well and bring you what I hope is an enjoyable diversion, maybe some gaming knowledge, and who knows, even a laugh or two. We'll be back next week. Until then, keep smashing those trophies, gathering those Chivos. Heck, even turn on the Switch. I'll talk to you soon. Push2Plat podcasts are conceived, written, and edited by CJ Anderson in Adobe Audition, video editing in Filmora 9, music licensing by Artist.io. Push2Plat would like to thank all our Patreon supporters, with special mention to our Patreon producers Zador VP, Redbeard Rick, Ready to eBeg, MZ Nitro, Diego, and T-Bird. Without your support, this show would cease to exist. If you would like to say hi, jump into the Discord in the show notes or on Twitter at Push2Plat. If you're interested in supporting the show, then jump on Patreon, the Push2Plat Patreon, where you can find more information on how to support us and allow us to continue to bring wonderful guests and topics from around the world.